The first thought I had when I walked through the door was, I thought we were late because so many people were seated already.
And we were supposed to be there at 6:30.
We were supposed to be there at 6:30. That was my first thought. But again, the sign at the entrance to the hotel, entrance to the conference center that said Bill Thurston's birthday, I still had that burning in my mind. I was going to a longtime friend's surprise birthday party. I was clueless. First few tables that I saw had people sitting in them that were mutual friends with myself and Bill Thurston. I didn't.
Some of them were.
Some of them were. Some of them, like, I'm wondering where they. I kept asking, where do you know Bill Thurston from?
It's a good thing you didn't have your glasses on you to see people.
They had some answers. I guess
we've known them for a long time.
Yeah, since I bit, but the first 3 tables, I didn't realize it. And the other thing was, Carol's making the face. As you know, I'm in the middle of scheduling cataract surgery, so my distance vision, when it's not direct sunlight, is limited. And I intentionally didn't bring my glasses in because I don't need glasses for up close, So had I had my glasses, I would have seen the whole room and who was in it. And I would have seen the pictures of me up at the front of the room, but I didn't see any of that. So that's why it really worked well. And it wasn't until I saw Christopher and Rachel and their buddy John Higley that I'm like, well, hell, this is for me. This buddy Bryce, this is hilarious. There ain't nobody letting on. There was nothing to indicate. I had no reason to be suspicious at all. Just I was so looking forward to celebrating Bill's party. I've known Bill since we were 5 years old. We grew up across the alley from each other, and my first memory of Bill was he was not allowed to leave his fenced-in yard. I would walk across the alley. Our properties kind of abutted, and we'd play through a fence. And that's my first memory of Bill. So we've been friends since we were 5 years old. So for 70 years, we've been friends. We went to grade school and high school together.
So a party didn't.
Yeah, so a party. I was just so excited. To answer your question, I was just so excited about celebrating his 75th.
But we didn't know whether it was a surprise or not, did we?
We thought it was a surprise, but we didn't know for sure because it didn't say on the invitation. And I bet, by the way, that fake invitation, I bet on that hook, line, and sinker too. But Bill had called me actually. I'm talking to the second table now. A week before Carol's behind me, shaking her head. I can't believe this numbskull doesn't know what's going on. He called me on July 3rd to wish me happy birthday, and didn't think anything of that. And I didn't want to say anything about his party because I wasn't sure if it was a surprise. So we just kind of talked around us. Well, you
past all those people, pyramid people.
It's actually
Fred
in August.
Fred Mary's.
And I said, you got a birthday coming up soon too. So
okay, Mike,
I'll let you know how 75 is.
George,
that kind of conversation. So anyway, back to your original question. I was just so excited about celebrating Bill's birthday, and I was looking forward to seeing his 2 older brothers and his younger sister. I haven't seen him in 50 years.
And on the way to the party, Ken is telling me who they are and what siblings he's got because I didn't know them, and talking all about, reminiscing as we were going to Bill's party. And then the sign at the front really, I think, cemented the fact that it was Bill's party, and then we figured it wasn't a surprise after that, right? Because there was a sign there.
Yeah, once we saw the sign, I thought, well, okay, it's not a surprise. Still going to be a fun party. No one before that gave it away. They played their parts very well. In fact, I noticed looking at the film that really close relatives and friends turned their back so I wouldn't see them. So everyone played the part really well to conceal the party. Right at the time I saw Chris and Rachel and John Higley, I saw Carol's brother Raymond and his son. Now Raymond, ironically, graduated from high school with myself and Bill Thurston. So seeing Raymond there would have been a little bit of a surprise because I didn't know that he and Bill were close, but still there was a connection. But when I saw Chris and Rachel and my nephew, Ray's son. I knew. Oh, that's when it hit me. It was for me. I was actually on my way to take Bill's gift and put in a gift box. Supposedly, I was looking for a gift box. So.
You wish you had your glasses now?
I'm glad I didn't. I guess I'm a little slow because she got me. Carolyn family got me all 3 times, but this one was by far the biggest surprise.
And it took you, took you the longest to figure it out too.
It took me, yes. The other ones, as soon as I walked in, they yelled surprise, and I knew immediately it was for me. This one was really well played.
I think everyone deserves an Oscar for their behavior.
They really do.
It's between turning their back on you and going along with how they knew Bill. They all did a great job.
But then as I start seeing who was there, and I'm seeing friends that came in from Minnesota, friends that came in from Nevada, friends that came in from Virginia. Then it hit the other thing that why it played so well was she had a small birthday party for me with neighbors on my birthday. And this being several days later, my birthday was already out of my mind, you know. Been there, celebrated, enjoyed it, and onward to 76. But never had a clue, you know, that this was in play.
It was difficult at first. I thought I had told the people at the Regency that I thought that maximum we'd have 75 people there. And that was before I even put together a list. I was just kind of guessing so we could figure out what size room to rent. And, but then when I started, you know, after 75 years, Ken had grade school friends, high school friends, we had friends in common that we hung out with in high school and college. We had the people in the electrical industry, the people in the contracting industry, the neighbors. There was just so many different ways to go that it was hard to narrow down the list to, you know, but we have friends that we've had for close friends that we've seen but that don't live around here, that around there, that I wanted to include. And I was very happy that they were willing to come to town for this surprise. So it, it was very difficult. And there were a few in retrospect that I wished I had invited, but overall I was very happy with the invitation list and the responses. So it worked out well, I think.
I told her, I'm sure during the course of the night, when we got home and several times since, how amazed I am that she pulled that off. When you think of the logistics of that many people, I'm still blown away by it. And it was just a fantastic night. You have to turn 75. This is a way to do it. Well, I will just say that I could not have planned that any better. It could not have been a more perfect evening. And it's just very humbling to be the recipient of that much love. I was just totally blown away.
Okay, I did not plan to sing Happy Birthday. I think he's heard 74 times Happy Birthday, so he doesn't need to hear it again. No. So let's do a toast instead to Ken. He made it to 75. Yay! You don't get to drink, we're toasting you, Ken. Bill, of course, Bill. To you too. Ken, now you can drink. We did it for 40 and 50, and now 75, and that's it.
Am I going to expire?
That's it?
Well, as far as my telling 3 months worth of lies is concerned, this is it.
You can go to confession.
Father's here. Father's here, yeah. I get to start the evening, and everything I've been lying for 3 months.
Only?
Who said that?
53 years. 53.
But tonight, everything that I'm going to say is true. Believe it or not. It's about Ken, but it's true. I'm going to start with our engagement.
Oh.
Ken proposed to me in March of 1972, early March. But he made me promise not to tell anybody until St. Patrick's Day. An Irish thing, I don't know why. So on St. Patrick's Day, I got to announce that I was engaged, but I had been wearing the ring for a couple of weeks, and by then my finger was green, and maybe that's why he picked St. Patrick's Day.
I was thinking of changing my mind in that period.
I'm not giving you the mic.
I know.
Advanced forward 7 months to our wedding.
That was a short engagement.
We got married on October 20th, 1972.
Before she changed her mind.
And Ken was not late for the wedding, but he was almost late for the wedding. I come to find out that he stopped at Elaine's parents' house to have a drink with her father on the way to the church. And when he got to the church, unbeknownst to me, someone had painted "Help Me" on the bottom of his shoes, Jim. He's kneeling at the altar with shoes that say "Help Me," which, by the way, he still has those shoes.
I stayed in shape.
He stayed in shape. Move on to the reception. It was a fun time. It was so much fun that Ken didn't want to leave, and he was one of the last to leave. We went to the Cheshire Inn for the first night, and we were going on to Florida from then. So we pull up at the Cheshire Inn at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and the bellhop comes out to the car and says, "May I have your bags, sir?" So Ken gets out of the car and opens the trunk for our bags. So he took my suitcase and Ken's bag, which he actually did have a grocery bag, Kroger grocery bag.
I have a suitcase.
With his...
That's all you need. Change of underwear,
How
that's it.
embarrassed was I? So, because of that, I think it's time you got some new luggage. So I'm going to give you that tonight.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, another bag!
4 pieces of luggage.
4-piece set.
Matching! Matching! Wow!
Gucci.
You're funny. You're funny. You've been living with me too long. You're funny.
I have been living with you too long, you're right. Okay, anyway, beyond the luggage, the next day we went to Florida for our honeymoon.
Oh,
We drove to Florida, and he told me that we were going to be staying at Kate's B&B. So we drive 2 days to Florida. He pulls up in front of this house in this neighborhood, this B&B, and we knock on the door. Unbeknownst to me, that's where Aunt Kate lives, and that's where we spent our honeymoon with Aunt Kate. And that is the honest to God truth. Right? True?
Bahamas?
Wait.
I can't believe she stayed with me.
I'm telling the truth.
Very frugal.
All right, it's all true. Okay. But I don't know how many of you are familiar with Worth Avenue in West Palm Beach. Worth Avenue is like Rodeo Drive in Los Angeles. One day, we left Aunt Kit's house, and Ken said he was taking me to Worth Avenue, and I knew what Worth Avenue was. It's all high-end jewelry and clothes, and it was going to be so, yeah. So we stopped at a coffee shop and got a cup of coffee, and then he let me look in the window of all of these stores. True?
I guess, if you say so.
That's true.
It's kind of foggy.
Imagine that. Okay. A couple of early marriage stories to tell.
You're not going to tell about the
All
Bahamas?
true.
Not going to tell about the Bahamas?
No, I'm not going to tell about the Bahamas. Okay. We went to the Cardinal baseball game with another couple.
Oh, no.
And true story. Okay,
left her
and
there. I
anyway,
got drunk.
toward the end of the game, Ken needed to use the restroom. So he left me and the other couple in our seats, and he went to the restroom and never came back. He ran into some friends of his, and they talked and visited and got on the Cardinal Express and drove to Belleville. While we're waiting in our seats for Ken, he abandoned me. That's the truth.
That's true.
That's the truth.
It happens. Correct?
It happens.
One more story, then I'm going to pass the mic.
Somebody, thank you for cutting that mic off. There you go. It's on.
Okay. About 20 years ago, we went to a convention in San Francisco, electrical contractors convention. And Ken, let me back up a little bit. Ken hated to shop for clothes. He hated it. I would take him to a store and he would go in the dressing room and I would take his clothes out of the dressing room and bring him clothes to try on just to get him to buy clothes. And he would finally give in and say, okay, I'll take this and I'll take this. And then I would give him his clothes back. So he decided, since we were traveling to San Francisco, that he was going to surprise me and go shopping. So he did, and he found a pair of pants and he tried it on and he liked it, so he got two. And we left home very early in the morning. It might have been still dark to go to the airport.
About 3 in the morning.
So we go to the airport and we're going through security, and unbeknownst to me, he goes through security, he sits down to put his shoes on, and everybody is walking by him through security and they're kind of pointing and laughing. And Ken doesn't know what they're laughing at. Well, he leans down to put his shoes back on and he realizes that there is no seam in the crotch of his pants. From under his zipper all the way to the back, it's wide open.
They were comfortable.
Air conditioned.
So, funny thing is, we had checked all of our luggage, so Ken had to travel this way. On the airplane, all the way to San Francisco, get off the plane, walk off the plane, go to find his luggage, and then finally get another pair of pants out of his luggage. So
I was a celebrity.
you were a celebrity, all right, yeah. Anyway, I could go on and on, 53 years worth, but I think I've taken enough time. I'm going to pass the mic on to John Hopkins.
All true.
Good job, Joe. You got it good.
I appreciate being here. Good evening. My name is John Hopkins. I've known Kins from grade school on into high school, and then after that we bonded together through the Assumption golf tournament. I'm a retired lawyer, and as you know, lawyers will do anything for a free meal. Now, we have become, as old men do, they bond together after a certain time. We've had a lot of nice lunches together over the last couple of years, last 15 years. But first of all, I want to understand there's some Catholics in this room, and there are maybe some clergy in the room. I'm going to ask for a little reversal of the usual situation with respect to confession. Bless me, Father, because I'm going to sin with regards to my words, so I would ask for that sort of in advance. We were part of St. Cyril's Parish in East St. Louis. Now, for all of you who are not from East St. Louis, how many people here are from East St. Louis? Just kind of put, well, that's sort of half and half. For those of you who are not from East St. Louis, it's going to kind of like be in the scene for The Godfather where they speak Italian at the restaurant. You don't know what the hell they're talking about. But you'll catch up as we go along. Now, in East St. Louis, in 1961, East St. Louis was an all-American city. There was over 90,000. My friend, you're going to put your coat back on so I don't look so bad up here. East St. Louis was an all-American city with 90,000 residents in it. It's not quite that as it is now, but at one time it was a vibrant city, but like I say, with almost 90,000 people in it. And East St. Louis had 14 Catholic parishes, all with a school and a church. There were ethnic parishes, Lithuanian, Polish, Irish, all over town. The St. Patrick's downtown was where the Durbins and the McGinnises were. Holy Angels were the Quitos, Costellos, and the Pickles were there. Then there was a really rich parish called St. Philip's. It's across the other side. That was where the Bernakings and the Sullivans and the Putzes were. That was his name, Putz. Can't help it. It was mispronounced by some of the football coaches, a little worse than that. Now, St. Cyril's was a breakaway from St. Philip's. Now, we had a church in a roller rink for 2 years. Now, we didn't ever have pews. We had folding chairs with kneelers on the back of them, and that's what we knelt on. And the parish finally built a school and a church, and they laid it out for a basketball court, but the priest would never, ever allow us to play basketball in the place, even though it had been laid out for a basketball court, because they didn't want the church to stink of sweat. And that was a shame, because the truth of the matter is that at St. Cyril's Parish, we probably had the very best basketball coach west of West Arbach in Jack Haggerty, Mike's dad. And that's the truth. But even Jack Haggerty couldn't coach slow, fat white guys. So we didn't do too well. But anyway, Ken loved St. Cyril's. He's often told me the best 3 years of his life were the 4th grade at St. Cyril's. Finally, St. Cyril's got a church and a school on 157. I met Ken in the 2nd grade. I didn't like him. But we bonded together. We were altar boys serving 7 o'clock Mass. There's a picture, let's put up there. There's the picture of the 8th grade class of St. Cyril's. You will see Smiling Kenny down in the corner. That's up the third up. That's me on the left side. Go up a little further. Can you go up a little further, Logan? Attaboy. See, one thing about being a retired lawyer is you don't have a staff that you know how to do anything. There you go. Hone in a little bit. Now, you'll see the girl next to the football guy. Ken told me one time that he got his first kiss from Charlotte Moore.
Charlotte Moore.
Now, Charlotte Moore was the Marilyn Monroe of St. Cyril's Parish.
She was.
And that's who he got his first kiss from. Now, I got my first kiss from Kathleen Grismala, who is sitting right next to me in the picture there. Actually, she became my prom date many years later, a little later on. But Hags and I, Mike Haggerty and I, used to live in Parkside. And I don't know, we didn't have no parks in Parkside that I'm aware of. And Keeney and Thurston, that's Bill Thurston, pull it up again, you'll see Bill Thurston on the so-called alleged birthday boy. is in there as well. He's on the bottom. They lived in Ping Pong, an area called Ping Pong. And Ping Pong was called because it was a constant back and forth between people going back and forth to the penitentiary. So maybe we didn't have too much in Parkside. We were better than those guys. Anyway, let's see, let me go here. Now, we had a principal, we had a teacher. She actually taught us the 7th and 8th grade. Her name was Sister Mary Adrie. There she is.
Ooh.
She was a Franciscan
She was
nun,
mean.
German, former SS officer. And she had a rope on her waist, and it had 3 knots on the rope. One for chastity, like she needed that. One for obedience, and one just for pain. Now, she hit Haggerty, correct? She hit the Hags. She hit me. I got arthritis in this hand at age 25. She hit Billy Thurston. One time Billy Thurston got hit by Sister Adrian, and he rose up to strike her back. He disappeared for 30 days. We don't know whatever happened to him. But there was one person she never ever touched. There was one person who was her baby. One person who was her special little child, who no matter what he did, would never result. Let's pull up that picture of her special little child.
Who's that?
It's you, no, you're way too ahead.
I never got in.
Yeah. Now we're in high school. We're in high school. Ken is now at Assumption High School. That's his senior picture at Assumption High School. Ken and I played football together. We also were in the arts club together. And the arts club was just a dodge to go downstairs and smoke cigarettes with Raymond the Blade Edwards. Anyway, we had a terribly, pull up the, you can pull up my, you don't have to pull up my picture. That's not a big deal. Skip to 5. That's me. There you go. That's our football team. We had a terribly bad football team. We were 2-6-2. We beat Marquette, which was a given, and we somehow beat Vashon. I don't know how, but we were a terrible, terrible football team. But when we played Marquette, we turned into the Green Bay Packers. And we went up to Marquette, and we played Marquette, and there was a tight game. It was a goal line stance. Now, this is a true story. I'm playing defensive tackle. I'm down in the ground in the mud with the goal line stance doing this, and Marquette has a guy fly over the line trying to score. And somebody, number 58, the linebacker, comes up and pops him and knocks him back, and they didn't score. Marquette guys did not score, and we won the game. If Jack Tewitt was here, I'd finish it up with this story. Jack Tewitt is a guy from the Alton Electricians local. But the Marquette nuns came out and doused their tears, took care of them as they went away. But Kenny Keeney saved us, and we won the game. That's a true story. Now, let's pull up number 5. As I said, my prom date was Kathleen Grismala, and there she is there. She aged pretty well, actually. I was unable to go to that, our 50th reunion or something. Mm-hmm. But we had a personal tragedy in our family. Our nephew, state trooper, was unfortunately killed that day, so we were unable to go. But we did get in contact with Ken's prom date, and while she was unable to come, she did send a message. Pull up page 6. It appears that the date did not go so well. Let's pull up number 7. Don Allen, he sends his regards. He says, thanks. He says, finally the jaw has healed. And thanks for all the checks over the years. There's a side story to that. Ken and Don Allen were on the dance floor at our 10th high school reunion, and they were talking about something about the Bee Gees or something. I don't know what it was. Anyway, they had a little fist fight, and Ken paid for it for about 10 years. Then we have pull-up number 8, if you would, please. Now, this is a picture from our 20th reunion. There's Bill Thurston and in a suit. There's myself, Ken, Bob Hawk, and Haggerty, also in a suit. Then there's these 3 chicks. I don't know who the hell they are. I think they followed Haggerty. They were groupies from Haggerty over at the Shiloh Elks Club, or Shiloh Eagles Club. But I don't know who they are. Then Ken went on to become a member of the Electricians Local 309. And he was the founder of, CEO of Pyramid Electric, and it was no doubt named after the Ponzi scheme. And the company made a fortune living off of Jim Fowler's throwaways. The next picture, number 10. Number 10 is a picture of Ken and our governor. He was obviously sucking up with the governor. But the governor was smiling. The governor is smiling because Ken told him that he was going to take him to the Dairy Queen in O'Fallon. Now, Ken has had some well-known health problems. He's had some heart problems and this. And as a matter of fact, when Logan told me about this, I said, son, you know what you're doing? You're going to surprise your grandpa. He's had like 15 heart attacks or something. And you're going to give him a surprise party. And he says, no, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. And so he's had so many valve replacements. He's had so many valve replacements, he has Valvoline tattooed on his chest. Let's pull up number 12, if you would. No, forget that one. Here is the lead guitarist from the greatest rock and roll band of all time. And he's wishing you a toast and hoping you have satisfaction tonight.
Satisfaction.
On a more serious note, if you don't mind, Ken and Carol have both been to the mountain above and to the valley below, and they've all handled it with grace and with faith. Faith indeed plays a real important part of their lives, and they carry it forth every day. I just finished a new book by Vice President J.D. Vance called Communion, Finding My Way Back Through Faith. And on page 123, he says, the cliche that suffering brings us closer to God is true, is a cliche simply because it's true. I'd like to end with this little bit of an observation. A little while ago, Ken and Carol and his mom came to our modest little house in Alton. While the ladies were in the parlor doing some things, Ken and I shared a drink of whiskey in my den. Just 2 old altar boys from St. Cyril's, thankful for all the blessings we have received. Happy birthday, my friend. Many more.
Thank you, John. Thank you, brother. Love you, brother.
Thank you, John. That was beautiful. In keeping with the same era that John spoke about, I'd like to introduce Mark Heffernan. Mark is an old friend. Uh-oh.
We need a caveat on this. He's a liar.
That's true. And I guarantee I'm going to lie some more. Ken and I have been best buddies for a long time. Is this thing off?
Can you tilt it in a little?
I think it's on now.
There you go.
You got it.
You got it.
But we started our friendship at Assumption High School. And it's funny you talk about St. Cyril's. My first topic was the idea man. And Ken had ideas all the time. And one day he and I are walking around the Edgemont area, and I don't know what Ken said to him, but he challenged a whole carload of guys from Eastside. And they stopped, and they beat the hell out of me.
Sissy.
I had a swollen eye, I had a bloody nose, and I'm laying in the gutter, and I look over, and Ken's holding all their coats. I said, what the hell are you doing? And he said that he was afraid that I was going to get blood on him. But he had an idea. There was a girl he wanted to meet, and so we went to her house, sat on her porch. I had a frozen sack of peas on my face, and Ken was making time. But I took her to the prom.
He did.
But Ken and I were really good buddies, and just like everybody probably in this room, you know, we were always trying to find a summer job. My mom worked for a railroad that was going to have a summer help, and so I found out Ken was my cousin because he put down my mom as his aunt, and we both got hired. Now, if you ever saw anything, we worked on a section gang, and it is hard and heavy work, and there's no shade on the railroad track. So it was hot and it was tough. We had an old guy, the old hub was our foreman, and he knew where everything was. He knew how to fix everything. And Ken and I worked with a black gang. There were 8 black men, and me and Ken were teenagers. But they taught us how to do all the stuff, driving spikes and everything else that you have to do on the railroad. But when I left that summer, Old Hub gave me this railroad spike, and he called it a keeney. This isn't supposed to be the shape of this thing. This is something, we don't know how Kenny did it, and if you notice where you're supposed to hit it, there's not a scratch on it. So that was Kenny. And I'm working on it. You had 2 people driving the spikes, and Kenny couldn't hit it. So everybody has noticed that he keeps hitting the wooden handle on the rail and missing the spikes. Well, he hits it one too many times, and the maul head, which is about 20 pounds, bounces up and hits me in the shins. And I want to kill him. I really do.
It was funny.
I'm hobbling around, and I look at him again, and I said, "What the hell are you laughing at?" He said, "You're funny." I don't know. But
he couldn't help it. He's left-handed.
It's a right-handed maul.
That's right, had them all.
But this was my present to Ken today, and maybe he could practice and try to hit it.
That's a class.
It's funny that Carol was talking about their wedding. Carol gave me one job before the wedding, and my job was to get Ken to the church on time. And I thought I had him. I had him in my car, and we're driving to the church, and Ken wants me to stop and get some breath mints. And I thought, for Carol, I'd do that. So I stopped, and I get out. I wasn't going to let him get out of the car. I get out, and I go in, and I get a couple packages of Tic Tacs or whatever, and I come back out, and Ken is gone. And we're in Washington Park, and I don't know a soul, but I knew where the Rogers lived. And I thought, if Ken's not there, I'm in big trouble. So I go knock on the door, they open the door, and I see Ken sitting there. I said, you better get your ass, we're going to the church. So he finally got up, had to put the beer down, and I did get him to, and I said, you know, you're marrying the prettiest girl in East St. Louis, you should at least be there. But Ken was the idea man. And so he and I spent too many years together, over 60. But he's my buddy, and I'm damn proud of that.
Thank you, brother. Love you, Mark.
Love you too, buddy.
I did hit the spike occasionally.
No, there was no proof of that.
Thank you, Mark. Now we shift to the late 90s when Ken took a gamble on a boat that was coming to town.
So Ken and I are actually very close in age. Ken was born in 51 and I was born in 52, which was kind of ironic. I always thought Ken was a lot older than me when I met him. But from 1952 until I was the age of 12 years old, I grew up in St. Louis, and I obviously learned that Ken grew up in East St. Louis, so we were separated by the river. And the only thing I can remember about coming over to East St. Louis when I was younger is my father used to bring me over there every couple of years when I was very small to buy a hat at one of the haberdasheries in downtown East St. Louis, because he said that was the best place to buy a hat. I ended up operating or running the Casino Queen because I happened to be working for a gentleman who happened to be one of the 5 partners that was one of the original owners of the Casino Queen, he being from Las Vegas. There were 3 owners from Chicago, and there was another owner from St. Louis, who many of you might have known was Bill Coleman. And I had worked on the project for several months before that in setting up the training school and all the other things that we had to do before we opened the Queen, because obviously there wasn't a lot of people in East St. Louis or St. Louis or anywhere in Missouri, except for the people that he knew, that knew how to run a casino. So that's how I ended up being involved. And then actually after it opened, I got to deal with the flood of '93 and the flood of '94 and the flood of '95. So I've got about 800 years of floods in my past. The first time I met Ken was in April or May, I think, of '93. And I was back for a project in dealing with the school, and we had a meeting with the owner of with the one owner that was from Las Vegas. His name happened to be Michael Gahn, and I had worked for him in Las Vegas for 20 years in the casino business before I came back out here to run the casino. And we met in the parking lot, and all I remember is that it was really muddy, and it was really cold, and it was really ugly. And the question that we had for Mr. Ken was the fact that we were looking at a parking lot that was going to hold somewhere upwards of 1,000 cars in the middle of East St. Louis, Illinois, which, you know, we had somewhat of a reputation, and we wanted it to be safe. And the design that Mr. Ken was working with had 4 parking lot stanchions in it, which meant that it had about 8 lights that were like 100 watts each. And we were not very pleased with that idea. And Mr. Gahn confronted Mr. Ken and said, I have a problem with this, and I want you to figure it out. I want you to work on it for me, because you're the electrical contractor on this job, and you should know how to do that. And Ken said, yeah, I think I can probably deal with that. And he said, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a light meter, and I want you to go over to Busch Stadium before a ball game, and I want you to walk out onto the field, and I want you to see how much that light meter says when you're standing on second base. And that's the amount of light I want on my parking lot when this boat opens in 2 months. And Ken, who was always had the right thing to say, always knew what the right thing to say was, well, Mr. Gunn, what's your budget? Because the budget that I've been given only works for 4 lights. And Mr. Gunn said to Mr. Ken, the budget is whatever you say it is, but you have to know that if I fly over this area with my airplane when I'm coming into Cahokia Airport to land, if I can't see Busch Stadium, the Arch, and my parking lot from my airplane, I'm not going to pay.
Pretty much. And he was a serious guy.
And he was very serious. And Ken said, that's not going to be a problem. So that was my first experience of meeting Ken 33 years ago. And ever since then, we have been very close. So close that he ended up being my neighbor on the street that I lived on in Stonewolf. And he worked with me while I was there for the 10 years that I ran the casino on projects while we're getting ready to get a storm. The lightning is out there unbelievable. Haven't seen that for a while. He worked on me through the 10 years on projects that included the casino boat, the hotel, the RV park, the remodeling of the casino land base, the upgrading of the boat, the RV park, the hotel, which amounted to over $50 million worth of projects. And during every one of those projects, he was my personal confidant and consultant on all the things that I had to deal with, both with the political environment back here and the construction environment. And I was blessed to have known and became friends with someone that was so positive and informative and supportive that I'll never forget ever again. And I'm so glad to be here for his 75th birthday. He's a year ahead of me, thank God. And one of the things that I wanted to do for him and present to him is...
A light meter?
No light meters.
All right.
In recognition of Ken's devoted loyalty to the Cardinals baseball club, and for us spending so many times at the stadium and seeing the games together. We've come back several times just to go to the ball games with him. I want to present Ken with his very own Cardinals jersey in commemoration of his 75th birthday.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, brother. I love you. Carolina.
Oh, I forgot to mention my original speech that I worked on, and then Carol said I only had 10 minutes. I had to shorten it a little bit.
Thank you, buddy.
Oh, thank you. You're the best. Carol, I know I'm not supposed to talk. I have to tell a story about it. A good one. I got a Craig story. I'll get it later. I can't talk ever.
Thank you, Craig. Craig and his wife, Becky, came in from Nevada. I appreciate that.
I'm worried.
Okay, as we know, Fred Yankee, my wife, Mary Yankee, as Ken says, from Minnesota. We're electrical contractors. And I have 4 stories to go over about Ken and a little bit of honor for him, because it looks like you guys have had a great time in college, in high school. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that was, I really wish I would have been here maybe.
You'd have fit right in.
I don't know, I'm not sure. Anyway, the stories I have to tell are actually true. Not like when Ken starts a story, and then it starts to evolve, and then what you have to do is you just look over there to Carol, and she's rolling her eyes, because she's heard it 100 times and ends up with a joke. These are real stories. Okay, first story is we are at a National Electrical Convention in Hawaii, okay? And we're sitting on the beach having a great time in the sun, 2 lovely ladies drinking Mai Tais, and my wife comes up with the brilliant idea of Bikram's hot yoga, okay? Now, knowing how Ken has treated his body like a temple since a teenager, he's all over this. Sure, body, mind, the whole thing with yoga. So off we go to the hot yoga studio, and luckily we get there, and it's crowded, but there's 4 spots open, all 4 of us, perfect. We get the mats, they give us a gallon of water, which probably we should have realized there was a little problem we were going to get into. So as we put our mats down, they fire up the blast furnaces, which just happens to be why there's 4 spots available. It's like a fire-breathing dragon shooting out flames, and that's where we start. And so after about 10, 15 minutes, you're absolutely pouring sweat, but it's mind control, body. Ken and I are looking out at this little chubby Hawaiian guy who we're thinking, we can kick his ass at yoga. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do in yoga is competition. And, I think we're supposed to do something called a tree posture, something. I can't even get my leg up without it sliding off, pouring sweat. And so after about 45 minutes of trying to at least compete with chubby Hawaiian, Mary and I said, that's it. We're done, we're out. But Ken, Carol, they hung in there for the original 15 minutes. And as we got out, we talked about it that beach would have been a better thing. Beach was a better way to go, and we both agreed that no more hot yoga ever. It's just not going to work for us. So that was my first story, and I'm guessing that furnace put out about 150 degrees.
It was
because I didn't have any hydration left. There was nothing in me. No body fluids. Okay, let's see. What else did I want to say? Number two story is, again, NECA, National Convention, this one in Phoenix. And if any of you have associated with electrical industry and NECA, it's all about mind, body, and this also culture. So we decide in Phoenix they have a Monet art exhibit. And Ken's all over this because he realizes he is lacking some culture. There's no doubt about it. And so we go off and we get to the museum, and the 4 of us go in and we're looking at Monet, and he's a pretty good artist.
Yeah.
Seems like he's got it down. And I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, Ken is kind of not near us. I don't know. We go through, and it's about a 3-hour exhibit, and we're all commenting on it and can't find Ken. come out the door, and here's Ken sitting on the concrete stairs all by himself, and go, where were you? How long have you been out here? He says, oh, I don't know, about 2.5 hours. He says, I do art quickly. And
It's a gift.
yeah, I thought he needed a little more culture, but obviously he was full. He had the culture. All right. Another, story number 3. We go on a river cruise. It was in Europe. And this one was not Nika. It was electrical contractors on a river cruise. So similar thing. We noticed the biggest thing I think that the river cruise has is a theme of alcohol consumption. That seemed to be the number one thing. You go to a castle, alcohol. You go to a restaurant, alcohol. Anyway, so this happens to be a Sunday, and Ken and Carol decide to walk to the closest Catholic church. And on the way, as they're talking, Ken doesn't realize that he just stepped in some dog shit. You know, it happens. I don't know why, but it happens to him. And so they go to their church not knowing, and in the pew, I guess that
Pew. It was.
right with that. After about 3-4 minutes, Carol gives Ken the look and gives him the elbow, like, what are you doing? And Ken's like, it wasn't me. I didn't do it, you know. Another 3-4 minutes go by, another elbow, another look. We've all seen it, guys especially. You get the look, and Ken is like, he gives the look back. I don't know. I didn't do anything, right? Another 3-4 minutes go by now. The parishioners, locals around, are giving him the look.
In German.
Yeah. And finally, Ken realizes that there's something on his shoe. So he sheepishly leaves the church, cleans off his shoe, and as he's trying to get back in, the usher gives him the look like, there ain't no way you're coming back in here. I don't care. So, you know, that was story number 3. Again, we're on a story number 4 would also have to do with the river cruise. Could be this, I think it was the same one, maybe just a different location. And again, alcohol theme. And this one, we're going to go up to a castle on a hill. And it's the last night of the dinner of the cruise. And there's supposed to be some, I think, young children doing singing and stuff like that. So now we've had alcohol at the castle during the day at a different place, and then we have some more alcohol, and then we're going to go, it's dark now, up to the castle. And these are electrical contractors, and they give us lighted torches to walk up. I mean, they're flames. And as we're walking, and I'm a little co-conspirator here with Ken, we start yelling, kill the monster, right? And now you have enough people who have drank alcohol that start cheering as we're all going up with this torch, kill the monster, kill the monster. And the locals are not amused, mostly looking terrified and concerned of what are these people doing. But the good thing was, I don't think anybody got hurt that night from flames.
From flames.
From flames.
Other things.
Other things. And I think the vendor probably decided we will never give them torches, maybe flashlights. As electrical contractors, maybe you could handle that, but that's about it. So, that's most of my stories. I do want to say one more thing about Ken. First, that happy birthday. Secondly, that we have been together a long time and have had such a great time. And when you go with Ken, pretty much a party. There's always a story involved. Maybe true, maybe not. But the thing mostly that I think should be acknowledged here is Saint Carol. I mean, she has spent over 50 years making sure that Ken doesn't step in it,
Again.
and done a hell of a job, I think. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Fred. Love you, brother.
Love you.
Sooner or later, she's going to let me talk. Sit down and shut up.
One more person would like to talk about you. And I'm sure it's all true.
Who?
And that would be Chris, your son.
Oh,
Do you have a few words to say, Chris?
he's a liar, too.
He's a liar, too.
Sure.
This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun.
Oh, no. I got it.
Okay.
If I ever get the mic, I got a good story about the Queen of Town.
Now, it's often been said that one shouldn't meet their heroes, okay? But believe it or not, that's just what happened about 45 years ago. It was a winter day, and my dad was driving to meet my mom in St. Louis. Now, I don't know the exact time. I was pretty young at this point. But when he arrived to where he was meeting her, he went in, found her, and then shortly after that, it happened. Now, normally when you meet your hero, you put your hand out to shake their hand, perhaps reluctantly, because you might be in awe of your hero, but not my dad. No, my dad put his hand out, and someone put his hero into his hand. And that little one was me. right after I was born, 45 years ago. So congratulations, Dad, for meeting your hero. Lucky guy, isn't he? Lucky guy. Now, if I had to describe my dad, 3 words come to mind. And these were spoken many times tonight. Number 1 was stubborn. Number 2 is tough. And number 3, you could probably guess, well, keep it clean. I'll just say joker. We'll go with joker, okay? So stubborn, tough, and joker. And I'm going to illustrate these one at a time. So number 1, stubborn. I have a mule here. Stubborn as a mule. So keep that in your mind. Now, I had to look up the word stubborn, not because I didn't know what it meant, but I was curious of how accurate it was to describe my father. Firmly unyielding, obstinate, and difficult to manage or change. The first 2, definitely, but the last one fits him to a T, and my mom can attest that for the last 53 years that she's been married to him. Now, I'll put it this way. If stubborn was a sport, my dad would be undefeated. Okay? If stubbornness was an industry, he wouldn't have retired. He would have expanded. He is stubborn. There's so many examples I have. I don't have enough time to go through these, how stubborn he is, but a couple that come to mind. One is moving from old houses. So he does not like to move, and I think he still is upset that he had to leave the house in Collinsville on Beverly Lane. To be fair, that was a great house. It was built very well by him mostly. Or things like traveling. Fred, you mentioned going all these trips. Now, prior to that, he was not so much into traveling and going to a beautiful place like, say, France, for example. He did not want to go. Thankfully, my mother, in her wisdom, urged him to, and when he got there and discovered that it wasn't what he thought it might be, he's been back multiple times and loves it. So sometimes the stubbornness you can get through. Only my mother can. Now, I know there are upsides to stubbornness, things like strong work ethic. He's got that for sure. But they've served him well in business over the years, but that doesn't always give credit to the hardship and frustration that we have had to endure because of his stubbornness.
What?
Mostly my wonderful mother, who's put up with that. Okay, number 2, another visual for you. Tough. He is tough. And he's worn this many times. I got a hard hat here.
What is that?
Tough. It's a hard hat.
Oh, okay.
He's familiar with that. From days playing football, as you mentioned, growing up in East St. Louis, and sticking it out, and I'd say even thriving in the electrical industry for over 50 years, that takes being tough for sure. That's happened countless times. Let's face it, anyone who knows my dad or has known him for at least the last 30 years knows he's faced hardship. He's fought Hodgkin's disease, a lot of health issues, heart most recently. He lost his dad, my grandfather, suddenly, back in the 90s. He lost his brother, Ed, who was in his 40s at the time, and another brother, Tom, more recently. And perhaps the hardest, he lost a son, my brother, Eric, 5 years ago this month. He's been through a lot and has come out the other side, bruised but not broken. And I'm impressed. I think that's not a small feat.
Thank you.
But now people don't talk enough about the other things he's been through. He's lost a beloved football team, not once, but twice. And he's still not happy with the NFL because of that.
That's right.
Actually, I think he's a Green Bay Packers fan now. But, right? He's going to Green Bay. I'm not sure. Either way, he's not happy. What else is he going through? As a young wireman, this was mentioned earlier, actually, a little bit, he's fallen off the Eads Bridge. Now, for those of you who aren't from this area, the Eads Bridge connects East St. Louis to St. Louis. It was completed, I had to look this up, in 1874, and even though there were older bridges built further north, none survived, making it the oldest bridge over the Mississippi, which is really pretty impressive. In short, it's not a bridge that you want to work under, but he chose to work underneath it, and he volunteered for it. Like that's something for sure. A third one that comes to mind, this is kind of a fun one, a little closer to when I was a little bit older. He once, I think trying to follow in his hero's footsteps, he joined an indoor soccer league. Now, I don't know how many games you were in, but he went in hard for a ball and he broke his leg. Then he decided that it was a good idea to drive himself home all the way from Granite City. Now, that's pretty tough. It's got to have been painful for sure. Now, the first one wasn't his fault. You know, owners move teams, that happens. The other two, you might start to think, is he less tough or more of a poor decision maker? And you'd be right. I think you'd be right, because that's definitely the case sometimes, as we've also heard these stories of.
Idea man.
Number 3 is a joker. Everybody in this room knows he's a joker, even if you just met him tonight. It comes across pretty clearly. So I have a whoopee cushion. One that not the specific one that he's used in the past, but I know he's used one in the past. He doesn't shy away from a joke, nor does he hesitate in true Irish fashion to embellish a story. If it was even true in the first place, right? Before he comes up with this stuff. He has a joke for every occasion. Now, he likes to recycle jokes too, and tell them so often that my saint of a mother got to the point where she had to limit my dad to a joke of the month. Whereby at the end of the month, he had to stop telling that joke because she was tired of hearing them. Now, Dan, I know you like it telling jokes. I know you enjoy it, but think about the rest of us who have to hear it over and over and over. So I thought tonight, part of my gift to you would be I'm going to try out some new jokes for him that he could maybe put into his repertoire.
That's right.
At this point, Dad doesn't need a candle count. He needs a fire permit. Not bad, okay? Some men age gracefully. He aged like a breaker box. Reliable, powerful, and not to be tampered with. At 75, Dad has the confidence of a teenager and the knees of a retired appliance. 75 is a milestone. Old enough for wisdom, young enough to ignore it. I'm not sure how this one got in here. Well, this is actually a true story. There was a time when he went to the doctor's office, one of many doctor's appointments that he had to go to, and he was waiting to hear back from some test results. And the doctor came in and said, I reviewed your test results, but first things first, you have to stop masturbating. And my dad said, why? He said, because I'm trying to examine you.
My son said that.
That was a confusion joke. I recycled that one.
That was good.
So thinking of all these images, we have a mule, a hard hat, and a whoopee cushion. And, some people are afraid of AI. But thanks to Logan, we've found a use for it. And he's going to pull up what probably sums up. You can zoom out a little bit. He's got a hard hat on. A mule with a hard hat holding a whoopee cushion. That's my dad right there. Okay, all jokes aside, the fact of the matter is, Dad, you're amazing. Without a doubt, you have always been there for me. You've supported me multiple times, even when you didn't agree or understand. You are a wonderful father and grandfather. I continue to look up to you, even when we disagree, which happens occasionally. You are a role model. You are a great friend to so many, which I think is a testament to how he treats his friends. I am so grateful you are not only in my life, but also in Rachel's and my children's lives. You're one of a kind and have, in turn, helped me to be the man I am because of your dedication, thoughtfulness, and love. Now, I have to admit, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe in the beginning, on that snowy Christmas Eve 45 years ago, it wasn't you who met your hero, but it was me who met mine.
Oh.
I love you.
Thank you, Chris. I love you. Now?
And that hero might have been my mother when I met that girl. My mother.
Do we care if Ken has anything to say? He was speechless for about 47 seconds as he walked in, and he has not stopped talking since then. Okay, Ken, come on up.
I have to say, I can't believe, she's giving me the watch already. I can't believe I didn't see this coming. She had a little dinner for me on my birthday, and I thought that was great, and thought I was coming to Bill's party tonight. And thank goodness she didn't let Haggerty or Bill get up on it and talk. I've known Bill since time. I got to tell all of you, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. I love you all. I look out here and every person I see, I think of a story, a time we shared together. I have to tell a story about Craig though, because this kind of reminded me in talking tonight. I was a member, I still am a member of Local 309 IBEW, one of the greatest locals around. And it has a history of having exceptional good business managers. I've known all of them. And unfortunately, and there's a great business manager now, but unfortunately, there was a time when one guy snuck in that was less than good. And we were like oil and water, we didn't get along at all. Didn't like him when I worked in the field with him, I didn't like him when he was a business manager. But anyway, thought he was tough and thought he was a thug. I'm working for Craig Travers at the Casino Queen. We're doing, as Craig alluded to, how much work we did down there. Pyramid did all of their work. Once you earned Craig's respect, which wasn't easy, then you had his confidence. We did all of the work there. And they decided to put neon on the side of the Casino Queen to make it look like a paddle wheel. And we didn't do that work, and there was no one in the area that did the work. They found, the Casino Queen found I guess Greg, you probably found them, a company that could do that. And they happened to be non-union. So, no harm, no foul, no one else could do it. The business manager decided he's gonna flex his muscles, and he calls me up and he says, that ain't gonna fly. I go, really? He said, I want you to set a meeting up with Mr. Travers, and I want you to set up as fast as you can. I said, oh, I can do that. And I called Craig, and he accommodated us, set up a meeting. And I'll never forget walking in Craig's office, and he says, what can I do for you fellows? And I introduced the business manager, the jerk, and anyway, he proceeds to tell Craig how things are going to be done down at the Queen. And I'm watching Craig because I know the explosion's coming. And the business manager, the more Craig was quiet, the stronger he got. He had his chest puffed out, and he's telling Craig just exactly how it's going to be. And Craig reached up. He always had poker chips, a couple piles of poker chips. I've never seen anybody do this since, but he can shuffle them with one hand. And when Craig started doing that, Becky, is this true? He's not happy. Craig started shuffling these, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna hit the fan. And Craig very politely listened to this guy's raging. And then finally, Craig said, are you finished? Because the business manager proceeded to tell Craig, it's gonna be non-union, and that's just the way it is. And Craig said, you finished now? And he said, yeah, I'm finished. Craig said, he got up and he goes, this meeting's over. Get out of my office right now. And the business manager, I thought he was going to cry. He looks at me. I just grabbed him. I said, get out. I got him out in the hall. I go, you don't know how lucky you are. He said, I thought that was going pretty good. I go, oh, that wasn't going good at all. I go, you better just let this thing die because they might find your body down in Louisiana somewhere. Mess with these guys. But anyway, Craig and I laughed about that a lot over the years. But anyway, I get sidetracked. And again, I'm thankful Davidson didn't get up there either because he tells lies about me all the time. Again, just want to end. Harold's giving me the watch over there, so I love you all. Thank you all for being here. It not only made my night, it made my life. Seeing everyone here. Thank you. Oh, wow.
Open mic night. If anybody has anything they want to say about Ken, we're going to pass the mic around. Just raise your hand. The bar is going to be open until 10 o'clock, so have a drink, have fun. John?
You know,
John.
it's just a shame because 25 years ago, Ken was, I went to SLU, I could do math. And when Ken turned 50, we did wish him a happy birthday. And we did sing to him. But it's unfortunate nobody sings to him tonight.
Thank you.
And so now.
Not Maryland.
Happy birthday, Mr. Keeney. Happy birthday to you.
Marilyn Monroe.
Happy birthday, Ken. 75 years young, everybody. God love him.
Maryland's back.